walkthrough yesterday, are you back to practice as normally scheduled, or does it take like a whole week to really get back from a Monday night game?
No, we're going to have I would say a semi-normal Thursday in regards to, we'll start with our pads on, and then about halfway through, throw them a bone, and the rest of the practice still be full speed, just without pads.
When you have some issues you're trying to sort through, is that a difficult balancing act at all, or is that pretty easy because you just got to get them back to healthy?
Can you repeat the question, Bill?
Yeah, is it a different balancing act when you've got some issues you want to address, whether it's O-line or whatever, to maybe cut back on the physical part of it, or is it just so important to get them back to healthy?
I think you got to be mindful of the entire situation. Every week is a little bit different in regards to how you want to approach it, but certainly, I think just we could always work on our pad level, our fundamentals that you get really good work with when you got pads on, and certainly with our situation at center, I think it's important to have them on at least for a portion of the practice.
Have you thought about having Stanovich work more hands-on with the offensive line?
I mean, that's what he does that every day. He's in there all the time. So, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's absolutely with those guys quite a bit. So, yeah, I mean, we'll probably continue with that.
Why is Brian Burns having the season that he is? It just stands out. What do you see that's unique?
Well, he's had a pretty dang good career up to this point. So he's always been a really good player. I think when you couple that with the guys around him, it's not surprising to me that he's having that type of year.
Moving around a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll see him on the ball, inside, off the ball. So they do a good job with him.
To rehash one more thing from Monday's game, on that 4th and 1 at the end of the game there, what needs to happen to prevent the Eagles from knowing what's coming, and if you ever get in that situation again, when you're obviously in a hurry up and all that, what's the alternative? What's the adjustment, I should say?
Well, we got to come off on the ball. I mean, I think that's the number one thing is you got to come off the ball. Like I said, it's not like the first time we've ever ran that play. Certainly you can do things in terms of changing up how you call it with your code words to try to hide it, and we're constantly tinkering with that. I mean, like I told you guys the other day, it's the same play we scored a touchdown on. So, unfortunately, they got a better jump off the ball, and we never allowed our runner to get the line of scrimmage. I'm thinking that if he gets the line of scrimmage, he's going to get a yard.
So if the opponent knows what's coming, or they yell like they know what's coming.
Bill, we do that all the time offensively. We know when corners are coming. We know when backers are coming. This is not like the first time in the history of football that people know what's coming. That happens pretty regularly, I would say. It's film study. It's things that happen in game. Bottom line is you got to be able to block it. And sometimes it's not easy. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's just the bottom line. That's football. Anybody else has any questions?
Yeah, run defense-wise, they've really struggled. I don't want you to badmouth the opponent here, but is this an opportunity for you guys to maybe get something going here for the stretch run, kind of build some momentum?
Well, I think every week's an opportunity, but ultimately it's going to come down to our ability to execute. I mean, that's a very good front. I think you've seen that. They've gotten out of position at times, and that's always the goal for an offense is you want to try to find a way to cut the defense, get a guy out of a gap, and that's usually when those gashes tend to happen. So, but every week's a new challenge, and they've done a pretty good job at times with their run defense as well. So we just got to try to get them out of a gap somehow, some way, and then hit the right gap.
Jameis Winston, he's done some really good things. He's thrown a lot of picks in his career. You guys saw him in the opener in Jacksonville against the Saints in 22. What do you remember from that day? What was he doing well on that day where he was able to reach his ceiling?
Yeah, he's a guy that has, obviously, he's played a lot of ball, he's had a lot of success. And like I think I said this yesterday, he's going to let it rip. So we're going to have to do a great job in coverage. We're going to have to do a great job with our pre-snap disguises. And ultimately, I think it always comes down to the ability to put pressure on the quarterback.
Did your paths ever cross with Mike Kafka at all? And either way, just what have you thought of just kind of the job he's done with them and offensively this season?
Yeah, I think I interviewed him way back in the day when he was coming out in the draft. But as far as coaching career, no, I haven't had a lot of interaction with him. But certainly a guy that's done well for himself and as a player, as a coach, and I'm sure it's going to be a little different vibe within the building. So that could present some new challenges for us.
What do you remember from that interview with him?
God, that was a long time ago. I don't even know what year that was.
Will Van Ness practice today?
He will. He'll be out there.
Okay. What would he give you? I mean, you got your main guys have played pretty well, but what would it mean to get him back here at some point the season back in the field?
Yeah, I just think he's a really good player. So you always want good players out there on the field. His versatility is something that I think that could give us a boost. His ability to play on the edge or kick down inside. So we'll see how it goes today and see where he's at.
Matt, I know that you expect your players to know that there's a long season ahead and a couple losses here or there shouldn't change the mentality, but with these 2 defeats at home, what's most impressed you about the mindset of this locker room still coming together and not distancing?
Yeah, there's a lot of football in front of us. The bottom line is we got to find a way to win a game. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that the last 2 weeks. And so that's always the struggle is, you just got to find a way to get one. And you can't, but you can never take it for granted either. You got to put the work in. You got to focus on the day-to-day and try to improve. And ultimately, that's really what every team's goal is throughout the course of the season is you want to make sure you're consistently getting better and you don't want to go the other way. But so we've got a lot of work, obviously, that we have to do in order to get the ball rolling the other way.
What have you seen out of your leaders, knowing that Elton and Tucker go down, and those are 2 of your guys that you lean on to lead this team? What have you seen out of the other guys to kind of get them back?
Yeah, I think the mindset's been positive within the locker room, and the challenge is just can you bring that same positivity to the practice field and to every meeting and just try to keep morale as high as possible.
Your defense has been taking the ball away more, especially since early in the season. What do you think you guys have been doing better there to create more takeaways?
Well, takeaways are a crazy phenomenon. I think, even going back to early in the season, it's not like we're not punching at the football. I think Coop had an outstanding one last week versus Philly. But it's just trying to maximize those opportunities when they present themselves. If a guy is not from the offense is not carrying the ball the right way, it's can you get a punch on the ball? Can you get multiple hats to the football? Certainly, I think a lot of turnovers occur in this league within the pocket. So if you can get to the quarterback and get it out of his hands, that's always a bonus. So those are kind of some of the things that we're focused on.
How do you guys decide which coaches are upstairs, which are on the sideline? What goes into that planning and thought process?
A lot is based on your responsibility on game day. And so, that's always usually a long discussion early in the season or before the season even hits, in preseason. That's why a lot of teams, and we do this the same way, is we'll tinker with that in the preseason. It's a good way to kind of make sure the channels of communication are aligned or in line for maximum efficiency and effectiveness, I would say. And so, that's kind of how we do it, at least.
When there's injuries, like there have been last couple weeks at wide receiver, does that change at all how you go about the week in terms of kind of having a plan for if these guys are available or these guys are available?
Yeah, that's always a challenge, but we're not the only team that's dealing with that. So you have to adapt, you have to adjust. sometimes when guys are limited or can't practice at all, it's a great opportunity to get an evaluation on some of these other guys, some of your practice squad players that you may have to rely on at some point. So, but that's always a delicate balancing act. I would say it's more difficult when they occur in game, when you've specifically laid out a plan for certain individuals, and then now you're missing that guy. It's how do you reformat it in the heat of the battle? That's usually the real challenge.
What's the next step for Love's evolution, you think?
I think he's done an outstanding job this year, and I know that we've hit a rough spell in regards to scoring these last 2 weeks, but I think he's done an outstanding job, and we got to make sure that he stays confident. I think that is paramount for every player, and I think he is confident. And we're looking forward to the opportunity to again have a great week of practice, putting that prep in, and then we ultimately got to go do it on game day.
How close was Matthew Golden to being able to play last week, and what do you expect from him this week?
Yeah, we'll see how practice goes today. So, but he was definitely close last week.